Hi, Jenna here. So I'm going to talk to you about refreshing your curls. I like to wear my hair wavy and oftentimes the first day that I wash it, it looks its best. My waves look really defined and great looking, but then I work out or I sleep on them, and then the days after, they often need to be refreshed in the morning to make them look polished again. And so I'm going to show you my method of doing that with a hot tool this time. Using a hot tool just is a quick way to get your waves and your curls looking defined and polished again with minimal work. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the tools that I'm gonna use for this method. Oftentimes I'll use a curling iron, and the size of curling iron that I typically like to use is like a 1 inch or a 1 1/4 inch. My 1 inch is in the salon, so I've got my 1 1/4 inch here, and it's my Marcel iron, which for the waves that I want to put in, I think I'm going to wrap them instead of using the clamp. So if you have curls that are actually curly and coily, or like a spiral curl, then using a clamp can be a good way to mimic that kind of curl. If you have hair that's more wavy, what you would probably consider like a 2B, a 2C sort of form, using a wrap method like you would on a wand or a curling iron can give you more of that kind of wavy texture. And so you can kind of see that I have more of that wavy texture versus a coily kind of texture. To mimic a natural kind of style, it's nice to be able to put in different size waves or curls, because a lot of times certain sections will wave more than other sections. Like for example, my underneath is oftentimes way curlier or way wavier than my front section. And I see that with clients a lot. A lot of times they'll have one section that wants to curl or wave much more than the other sections. It's kind of nice to be able to either make those sections bigger to match the majority of how the rest of your hair is curling or waving, or you can put in a variety of different size curls and waves to make a more kind of dynamic look. That of course is going to require more work. You'll have to heat up multiple tools and that sort of thing, but there are ways to wrap your hair on a curling iron that can give you more of a bigger stretched out curl or a more coiled, tighter curl. And I'm going to show you those two methods with my curling iron today. I'm also going to show you how you can convert your curling iron to a wand just by taking off that clamp, which is actually pretty easy on most curling irons. So here is my Marcel. You know, sometimes when you're wrapping on a curling iron with a clamp, it's, you know, you're having to contend with the clamp, trying to open it up far enough to where you can get the hair inside of it without, you know, knocking your hand against the clamp. So it's often nice to just take this off. You can take it off and put it back on, and it's not that hard of a thing to do. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. and I totally recommend having it off while you do this. It seems like a no-brainer, but I went to go do this once and it was on, and just because I was impatient, I'd already had it on, and I figured, oh yeah, I could probably just take this off. So you can see that here's the rest, this little arm rest thing attachment that is right here. And all you have to do is pull it out like that and you can detach it. And then you can see that this has, can you see that? There you go. This has a little screw in it. So you can just take one of these guys, these Phillips head screwdrivers, undo the screw, drop it on the floor, and take that clamp off. So now I've converted this into a wand. This is my hair. Now, depending on how I want to wear it today, I'll focus on certain areas. So if I'm wearing my hair down, then I'm primarily gonna focus my attention on the surface of my hair. So pretty much this I consider all the surface of my hair. This would be considered like the underneath part. But if I were to wear my hair up, for example, if I'm gonna do some style where I'm wearing my hair like this, then I would definitely focus more of my attention on this hair underneath. And I would probably not bother with the top part at all. But I'm gonna show you how I do just the top part because I like to wear my hair down a lot. But if you were to do the underneath, you know, I recommend that you either put your hair up like you're gonna wanna wear it, maybe just already, you know, full on put it up, or just put it up, that section up like you would, and deal with actually styling it later. So like you have this clipped up and then you go ahead and start taking your sections underneath here. I always recommend when you're using a hot tool that you want to use a heat protectant. So whether or not that was put on initially after the shower, that will still work, or if you need to put it on after the fact, you can find ones that can be put on dry as well. Like I'm using this one today by Whey. It's their memory mist, and it can be put on dry. It's pretty light and it dries pretty quickly. So depending on how far away I am from my wash day, I will add my dry shampoo first and foremost in my hair. And I always just put the dry shampoo on my roots. I leave my ends alone. So I apply my dry shampoo underneath. The products I'm going to be using today are pretty minimal. If I need to use a dry shampoo, if I'm on my 3rd, 4th, 5th day of my wash cycle, I will use the IGK First Class Charcoal Detox Dry Shampoo. This is my favorite one right now. It works pretty well on all hair types. So if I need to put a heat protectant, because I didn't put one on one of my prior days, then I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna use the Whey Memory Mist Heat Protectant. It's nice and light and it can be put on dry hair. So I'm gonna use an argan oil by Marrakesh at the very end. All right, and the tools that I'm using if I need to clip up my hair, I've got this clip and this clip. Oh, and I've got a little comb for making sections or combing out pieces before I wrap them. All right, and now I'm gonna put on my heat protectant. And the heat protectant's gonna go on the lengths and ends. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate on this little curling iron that's not on how you can wrap your hair in 2 different ways to get different kinds of curls. Okay, so you can change how stretched out the curl is by wrapping the hair either really tight, close together on the barrel here, or you can wrap it further apart, leaving space in between the wraps to create more of a stretched out curl. So for example, this isn't plugged in. I recommend, like, when you're practicing on your hot tools, to have them unplugged while you're trying to figure out your method. So if I were to be making this section right here really tight, and obviously this is a pretty small iron, this is probably like a 1/2 inch curling iron, I would wrap it like this, really tight, like that. So there's no space in between these coils. That will create the tightest wave or curl pattern. Now, if I wrapped the hair further apart, like this, you see how I've left space? You can see the curling iron in between. So I've left space in between these wraps. That's going to create a more stretched out, bigger curl or wave. Now, if I use the clamp here and I put the hair in and I twirl it around and I just use this clamp, it's gonna create a coiled curl, like your traditional ringlety curl. Now, if I wrap the hair around, and while I'm wrapping, I'm twisting the hair, like I'm wrapping, and you see how that's twisted there in my hand? It's not flat. Like if I had wrapped it flat, I would actually have to see how that is a flat wrap. It's not twisted at all. Well, if I wrap it and twist it like that, so it's in that twisted state, that twist is gonna give me more of that wavy pattern versus that spiral pattern. So if you are refreshing curls that are coily and spirally, I recommend you can still use a wrapping method. Like, you don't have to use the clamp. You can still wrap it, but just make sure that you're wrapping it flat like that you're not spiraling the hair. Now, if your curling iron barrel isn't very long, you may have to do your pieces and sections. So if you're trying to get you're trying to get a larger, more stretched out curl on your iron, and you've got long hair, you may only be able to go that many, 2 times, 3 times on it before you run out of your curling iron. So in those cases, you'll just do the top, and then you'll come back through and do the bottom, like so. So you'll kind of do it in 2 sections. Another trick to making your hair look very natural is you don't necessarily have to end the direction of your curl in the same way that you started. I know that may sound a little confusing, but I will show you what I'm talking about. So a lot of times, natural curl, it'll start going in one direction. It'll go towards your face or away from your face. And then halfway down the hair shaft, of that section, it'll switch directions. Curl can be very unpredictable, and so to mimic that, you can start your curl going back away, and then for the bottom part of your curl, you can have it coming forward. And then that will give you this kind of haphazard curl that's a little bit more natural looking. So now to actually show you how I refresh my hair. So a lot of times this side of my hair is a lot straighter than this side. And this side gets really wavy underneath here, and this side is like a lot straighter. So I usually end up having to put a little bit more work in this side. So at this point, I've got to decide if I want to enhance my straighter side to make it look wavier to match this side, or if I want to relax this side in order to make it look more like this side. It doesn't really matter. It's just like whatever look you decide you're gonna go for. So here we go. I've got my dry shampoo on my roots, and I've got my Memory Mist heat protectant on my ends. And I'm ready with my wand that I've taken the clip off of, and I'm gonna go ahead and work these things. So you can see right here that I have this kind of like weird kink right there. Now, I can take that out by pulling on it straight like this with a lot of tension, and I'm just going to rub that curling iron back and forth on my hair shaft. I mean, it'd probably be better if I was just going down, because you want to lay those baby hairs down. So you can see that took out that kink right there. I like to try and work with whatever direction I see the curl going in. So if I look at this piece, I can tell that it kind of it's kind of wanting to go forward in the beginning. That's what this is doing. And then it's going back. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back with it. And I'm gonna just wrap my hair around like that. And I'm gonna just hold these pieces away so I don't burn my fingers. And there I have my first curl. I'll flip that over, take a piece underneath it, kind of assess what it's doing here. Looks like I'll take this section right here. Now for this one, I think I'm gonna have this one going towards my face. So instead of wrapping it this way, I'm gonna wrap it this way and have it go towards my face. And you can see I'm leaving space in between the wraps because I don't want it to be very big. And there's that one. And so I can see that this here is kind of straight. Now I'm getting in my under part, but sometimes you have to do that. And I'm gonna wrap this one towards my face again, but I'm gonna coil it closer together to get a little bit tighter. So I'm gonna get these coils really close together like that. Now this is a pretty big iron, this 1 1/4 inch. Okay, put that down. I think I'll just do this section here, and that I think will be good for this side. So a lot of times it's just a matter of doing, 3 pieces and then, well, maybe 4 pieces. And you can see, like, already this is looking way more polished than this side. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of comb some of this out. I'm gonna start with this back piece here. Comb it out. So the benefit of combing your pieces out beforehand is that when you wrap them, they'll look smoother and glossier once you release them. If you want to keep a more roughed, lived-in look, don't even bother combing your hair at all. Just wake up with your hair and start wrapping. That's my suggestion, because you kind of want to keep a little bit of that rough, gritty kind of look. Oh, I can tell I need to do that, guy. So you can see I didn't comb that one out. I left it rough. All right, so go back to this guy. I figure out which way this is wanting to go, and kind of looks like it's going away from my face. When I do my opposite side, I like to put the barrel down, and then I'm gonna use the opposite hand and I'm going to wrap the hair. There's that. Take this guy, do the same thing. Oh. Comb it out. So the benefit of combing your pieces out beforehand is that when you wrap them, they'll look smoother and glossier once you release them. If you want to keep a more roughed, lived-in look, so to get this under control, so I often have this little kink up here, I can do the same thing that I did over here. I can pull this really taut and rub this on this section here. So I may start this going this way, under, and then finish it going the opposite way. Okay, if you don't like the look of one of your curls, what you need to do is leave it alone. Let it cool all the way. Go to some other section while you let it cool, because if you try and rework it, it oftentimes will not budge from the form that you just put it in. You need to let it cool in order to kind of reboot that section. So you can shake it around to kind of speed up this the cooling process. But a lot of times, I recommend going on to a different project. Get it out of your way, out of your field of vision, and focus on something else that could be addressed. Like, I'm gonna address this little guy here, and then I'll come back and address this again. By that point, that should be all the way cooled. And so I have my curling iron all the way up to its highest level. When you're wrapping the curling iron as if it were a wand, you're not using that clamp, that hot clamp to sandwich the hair in between. Your hair is actually wrapped, and there are sections of that wrap that are staying protected, twisted and protected, and not really reaching the heat as much. So you need your iron to be a little bit hotter to get to those twisted sections that are on the inside. All right, so now this section is cool, and I'm going to reform it. This is about where I want to leave it. You can tell that it's definitely a different look. It's kind of a more refined look, in my opinion. So I've got that dry shampoo that I need to rub in. I'll just kind of give myself a massage. So if I wanted to have more of that kind of roughed up look, I would leave it like this. I could blast it with a dry texture spray. I do like the IGK, their Beach Club spray. That would rough this up even more. Or I can polish it down by adding a little bit of oil. So I've got just a little bit. I added some purple to this oil because I always like to try and tone the brass out of my hair. So I've added some purple pigment to it. IGK has some purple toning drops that you can add to any of your products, which I think is an ingenious idea. So I've gone through, and you can do what they say call the praying hands by distributing this. So I start by distributing it at my ends, and then I can work my way up to my roots. Because this is a pretty heavy product that I have to be careful not to get it on my roots. Like, I just put dry shampoo to get any sort of oily look out of there, and so I don't want to add any more. So if I want to give myself a little bit of lift again, after smoothing everything down, I'll just take my hand in and kind of rub my roots up like that on either side, because I like volume. That's why I wear this clip at night in my little method. That's how I sleep, because I like my volume. So there you go. That's my curl refresh. It can go really quickly. Sometimes it's just a matter of doing a couple pieces per side. Or if I'm wearing my hair up, it's just taking these little bits, and I can take, a pretty good chunk at a time and just roll these around. But because this is what's showing today, I've just hit the root, or I've just hit the surface area. All right, so this is the after. So I hope some of those wrapping tricks help you save some time in the morning refreshing your curls. I know that it's can be a pain to have to go through all the process of putting in more product and re-scrunching and wetting and then diffusing. That can be pretty time consuming. And if you're willing to use a little bit of heat, you can skip all that and just wrap a few pieces to get your hair looking a little bit more polished. I have another video on how I like to wear my hair when I'm wearing it curly, how I keep it away from my face and in a style that doesn't leave kinks and stretch out my curls too much, so that I can do minimal work afterwards to make them look polished again. So if you're interested in more tactics on how to preserve your curls, stay tuned. I'm also going to have a video on, if you don't want to use heat, how you can refresh your curls, or if you want to wrap your curls before bed in a heatless curl pattern and sleep on it and then do minimal work in the morning. I'll have a video on that too. So I hope some of these tricks were helpful for you to figure out how you can wear your hair your third, fourth, hopefully fifth day curly without having to completely wet it down again. If any of this was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks again for watching. Gena out.